Ladies and gentlemen,
we're back again.
And this list is just super.
Really, Tom? Super?
Yes.
I would love to say that as we moved from the NES to the SNES, that the games just got harder. But that would be a lie.
As we move to the next generation console, the graphics improved along with the sound. But sadly, the gameplay must have been more geared to a novice video gamer.
Fear not, we managed to find a few games that are sure to get your blood boiling.
Like last time, we are only picking one game per franchise, and these games must be hard, for the right reasons, so no bad controls. Remember, you actually want to play them, so that's a factor. So no space ass.
Far out.
You mean Ace?
Ass.
At least one person on the Game Hero staff must have beaten this game.
I'm Handsome Tom.
I'm Cameraman Joe.
And I'm Andy, the movie the game, for the Game Hero's top 10 hardest Super Nintendo games worth playing.
Number 10.
SimCity. This is one of the staple Sims that everyone remembers.
SimCity was one of the toughest games ever. Nowadays, you can look up strategies and cheats to help you along, but back in the D, you had to figure that shit out by yourself.
The game starts you out as mayor of a new town. Your choices affect everything that you do. Don't build an airport near residential areas.
There were a few things you could do to help out your progress. For example, bulldoze the coast to prevent flooding.
Create railroads instead of roads to prevent traffic.
And keep those pollution-filled industrial zones away from the residential zones.
This game can be tough with all the hazards turned on.
You mean the Bowser hazard?
Oh yeah. Destroy that shit.
Number 9.
Donkey Kong Country is an amazing game. Almost everyone's played it. It looked great, the music was amazing, secrets were plentiful, and it was hard.
I know some of you have seen the VHS previewing Donkey Kong Country that we did a commentary on. Even with one of the worst previews of a game ever made, it could not hold back the greatness that is DK.
Rare outdid themselves with a superior game, but how many of you have ever beaten it? Not very many of you, I'm sure. If you have, then consider yourself great at level memorization and timing. It was so much fun and challenging, years later they didn't have to change the formula for the new one on the Wii.
You know what made this game hard? It's the amazing level design. Take the mine cars for example. If you were off by just a little, you were boned. Also, the barrel blasting was fun, but instant death was a common theme as you navigate the mammal cannon.
Hands down, it's one of the best hard games, period.
Number 8.
UN Squadron. It's fair to say that I had an unhealthy obsession with this game.
Me too, though quite different from its arcade predecessor, and I should know, because I own both. The SNES version of the UN Squadron let you choose your destiny and gave you more planes to choose from.
What's not to love? You got upgrades, multiple characters, varied paths to choose from, sound effects that make you want to flex, and a score that makes me want to steal a jet fighter and jam out to the soundtrack like it's Iron Eagle.
Even though you had a life bar meter at the bottom of the screen, this game will still rip out your heart and feed it to you. Like Pistol Pete, I don't focus on one thing on the screen, but rather the gajillion bullets flying at you from everywhere. If you suck, I found this little cheaty cheat. Plug in the Game Genie and give yourself unlimited items. Then equip the Mega Crush and Cluster Bomb. Get your turbo controller ready, and you're invincible. Ground, no problem. Vehicle damage, whatever. I'm pretty much a badass.
You're a cheater, and I beat this game on pure skill on hard.
Whatever, it was fun.
Number 7.
Super Ghouls and Ghost or Super Demon World Village, if you live in Japan.
This series is unforgiving. It made our top 10 hardest NES games, and now it's making our top 10 Super Nintendo list. The stakes are the same. Someone or something steals your woman, aka cock-blocked again. Then you have to avoid getting down to your boxers to win.
It's pretty much the same game as the NES, but with more power-ups, a badass soundtrack, and of course, better visuals. One thing they didn't change from the original is how hard it is. I don't know why they think you need to beat it twice. Even beating it once is an amazing feat.
Yes, and you can also relive this game in the collection's compilation, but they fixed some of the slowdown problem. Now normally we hate slowdown, but for this game, you welcome it. You have to admit, Arthur is a total badass. Maybe someday he'll get some.
Number 6.
Actraiser is one of those games you will never forget. It's a mashup between a side-scroller action-adventure and an overhead interactive sim.
The tough part isn't the sim, but rather the action-adventure part. The game is unforgiving with precise jumps and cheap falls.
Like most of the games of the era, if you get hit, you fly backwards and you lose control of the character.
The difficulty in Actraiser lies in the first time play. The more you play, the more you memorize, and it slowly becomes easy. Take for instance this boss.
As you can see, it's a very simple pattern. Unfortunately, if you barely tap the guy, you get hit. Damn it!
The sim part of the game requires you to travel back and forth from new levels to previously completed levels. It's pretty easy until you hit the later levels, and you have more and more monsters terrorizing the land.
And if that wasn't enough, you have to beat all the bosses again? Come on!
Number 5.
You know this one's hard just by the reputation alone. Sure, you might have beaten the ones in the NES, especially if you cheated with the Konami code. But for this sequel, you won't have the same luck, unless, of course, you live in Japan. For some reason, they got the code for 30 lives, and we didn't.
The only thing to do in the USA was to go to the options screen and give yourself 3, 5, or 7 lives. Why would you not choose 7? Because you're a total badass and can do it in 3.
Even if you rock at this game, it won't let you get more than 30 lives. There are also 3 modes of difficulty, and each one changes up the boss patterns and weak points. That's actually badass. Instead of giving bosses extra life, it gives it a new feel.
This game is hard. If you're man enough to beat this game on normal and easy, it sends you back to the beginning to do it all over again. So unless you beat it twice, or beat it on hard mode, you don't get to see the real ending. Why is it that all the badass hard games make you do it twice? It's a great staple in hard games.
Number 4.
Number 4, Pilot Wings. Ooh, I love Pilot Wings!
Okay, Andy, why do you love Pilot Wings?
Well, Tom, I'm glad you asked. This game has the ultimate blend of semi-realistic flight sim for the time, and it's completely silly and it's super fun as far as flight simulators go. It took Microsoft Flight Sim and made it accessible for everyone. EGM ranked it in its top 100 games, calling its pseudo 3D graphics stunning. Game Informer gave it an 8.25 stars.
We know that you love the game, but what makes it hard?
Well, when you join the Flight Club, it eases you into the gameplay. Time, accuracy, angle, and speed are just a few of the categories you'll be scored on as you take your biplane, rocket pack, hang glider, or skydiving self for a ride. The first round in flight, it's pretty tame on levels 1 through 4, but as you advance into expert mode and 5 through 8, this game starts embarrassing your SNES skills.
Yes, smaller targets, low-flying arches, landing areas you need a microscope to see, and the wind. Not to mention the helicopter mission.
You hear that? Well, get used to it, because if you challenge Pilot Wings and think that you can beat it 100% on expert, you're going to be hearing this sound a lot, as it ravages you. Again, and again, and again. A challenging game to beat, but hard as hell to master. Frickin' hate Big Al's stupid big fat face. The only saving grace in this game is the passwords, otherwise you'd be in for a serious crash landing.
Hopefully the new reboot on the 3DS will be just as challenging.
Number 3.
Super RType is freaking tough, and that's all I have to say about that.
Joey, this is number 3. You gotta give the people more than that.
No, I don't.
Well then, Super RType is a classically based side-scroller shooter with tons of awesome power-ups. On top of that, you can charge up your main weapon for ultimate damage.
One hit and you die. And when you do, you lose everything. You lose your progress, you lose all your power-ups that you gain through the level.
This game is almost impossible without cheats, and almost impossible with them as well. The level design is tough and takes constant playthroughs to know what dangers lie ahead.
And don't forget about the bosses. The bosses look like cancer-filled tumors that have gotten a hold of some ooze from TMNT 2. Just look. Ew. And look at all that shit they throw at you.
See? Freaking tough!
And it looks like a vagina.
Number 2.
If there is one thing we love, it's Star Wars. Fortunately, the games are plentiful, but it's hard to find a good one. Thank goodness the SNES version saves the day with the entire Star Wars series, the original Star Wars series, that is. All 3 games were amazing, especially for movie licensed games, and yes, they were also hard.
So how do we choose one above the others in this amazing threesome? Well, it had to go to not only the hardest, but one of our favorites, Empire Strikes Back.
Super Empire Strikes Back had to be the best blend of plot, graphics, and difficulty to make this one stand out from the other 3.
I know you can cheat with all the passwords so you can go to any level or have unlimited power-ups, but if you try going straight through, you'll get your ass handed to you.
One thing you'll notice is that it's not just a little hard, it's super hard. Even with the best move in the game, the spinning lightsaber, you will still get your ass kicked. Jumps are sometimes impossible, and boss fights can beat you down. The enemies, they just keep coming and coming.
We loved all the variety, being able to ride a Tauntaun, flying in a snowspeeder to take down the AT-ATs, and playing as multiple characters. It made this game fun and challenging.
There is no argument. If you're a real man, you can beat this straight through. But you must have the Force on your side.
Number 1.
And number 1 on our list, Hagane. His name is a killing word. In a time of darkness, the pathway to Armageddon opens. And that's the plot, ladies and gentlemen. You are the ultimate Japanese warrior. At least, that's what I think it's saying, but I can't read kanji.
There's no explanation as to who you are, what you're killing, or why you're killing them. From what we gather, pretty much everyone is a robot or has some sort of cyber implants, all of which are bent on destroying you.
Nearly every button or direction is a super move, which is pretty badass. The power-ups are plentiful, and certain weapons work better against other enemies. The controls are solid, so bad programming is not to blame for the difficulty in this game.
Be vigilant of each bullet on the screen. Watch for little birds because without upgrades, 3 hits and you're dead. Die and go back to the beginning of the level. Do that 3 times, game over. If Strider cut off his arms and legs, that game would still be easier than Hagane.
This game is not impossible. Remember, we had to have beaten it. But make sure to play this in a padded room because you will throw your controller. That much is for certain. Now, if you're scratching your head and you're thinking, I don't know much about this game, well, maybe you should go check out a review from back in January of 2009.
It's time for
Handsome Tom's Useless Knowledge.
the reason you've never heard of it, because in America it was a Blockbuster exclusive, which means it was released in a limited amount of numbers to see if enough people had an interest in renting it, and it just never really took off.
But I will say this about Hagane, hardest Super Nintendo Entertainment System game worth playing, period.